And people always ask me, are free trade agreements really good?
Yeah.
And I point to one statistic. U.S. manufacturers have a tremendously large trade deficit with the world, but U.S. manufacturers actually have a trade surplus with our free trade agreement partners, which means that when you eliminate not only tariff and non-tariff barriers, when you level the playing field, U.S. companies can compete with anybody. So I believe free trade agreements are very, very good. I would love to see a U.S.-China free trade agreement.
Okay.
At some time in the near future.
Hopefully.
U.S. companies no longer just produce products for Canadian retail shelves, and Canadians no longer just produce products for U.S. retail shelves. Together, we produce goods for the world. We've teamed up, and this has made our products that much more competitive. And it's resulted in really tremendous advantages, the creation of many higher paying jobs. As I mentioned, the integration of trade, which resulted in higher and higher levels of productivity. So this has been a win-win. Interestingly, before NAFTA was implemented, many U.S. companies already operated in Mexico. What NAFTA really did was gave U.S. companies and Mexican companies certainty so that long-term investments would pay off. And so as a result, it's been very beneficial for all three countries.
What do you think of that?
Well, when he was first elected, I was asked by a number of reporters what the real situation with President Trump was.
Say to them?
And my thought was that these were all starting negotiating positions.
What if the NAFTA agreement breaks down? What will happen to the United States economy, to the Canadian economy, and to Mexico economy?
Let me first say that I don't think it will break down, but should it break down,
Subjective mood.
should it break down, we have these very sophisticated supply chains in place. And as I mentioned, when we produce a product, the inputs may be from Canada, Mexico, China, Japan. If you terminate an agreement like NAFTA, you will severely disrupt these very sophisticated supply chains. And I think that could be detrimental in the short term for U.S. companies.
Okay. So what are you hoping for the renegotiation?
I think in the negotiation, we'll see some improvements on intellectual property protection, some improvements in the area of e-commerce and the export of services, perhaps some improvements in labor standards. And that may just be it. And if they take the rhetoric face value from the president, it does sound like we're talking about a total renegotiation, a total rewrite. But in the end, or in reality, I think we're talking about minor improvements that will benefit all three countries.
Okay, let's just wait and see what will happen in the next couple of days. Thank you so much, John, for talking to us today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.